During the Conservative Party conference, we heard from two activists, Wazz Mughal and Judy Wells. Wazz was an electrical engineer who voted Remain, but had come round to the idea of Brexit. Judy was retired and didn't want Brexit to happen. We've got them together again with Carolyn Quinn to reflect on the year in their party.
I think historically, if we look at the Conservative Party when in power, we are our own worst enemies. And there are a lot of the stories that come out because of splits and factions within the parliamentary party. So if there's nothing else to talk about, then one could say the party itself is doing well, but they're creating their own problems. So if we stop doing that, Theresa May is the leader of the Conservative Party. That's a fact. You know, at the end of the year, she will be the leader of the Conservative Party. At the beginning of the new year, she will still be the leader of the Conservative Party.
In the last Prime Minister's questions of this session, a Labour MP said to Theresa May that while she's stuffing her goose for the Christmas dinner, that she might stuff it with a bit more relish if she called it Michael or Boris, meaning, I'm assuming, Michael Gove or Boris Johnson. Now, you, Wazz, were and have been quite a fan of Boris Johnson, but he's had a few problems this year. Do you think his star is in the descendancy?
Well, I think, as I said to you at the conference, Boris does have his flaws, and amongst them are putting his foot in things sometimes. That may be what you're talking about here.
You're thinking of the Iranian situation.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I think, you know, you look back when he was the Mayor of London, he did similar kind of things then as well. So when we were talking at the conference, we were talking about, could Boris be the leader of the Conservative Party? And I said, yes, he could be, although he would need to be guided.
Do you still think so?
I still think if somebody's there, I mean, as far as I can work out, the leader of the Conservative, the Prime Minister, is the chairman of the board of directors. And the directors are the various department heads, the cabinet ministers. And the job of the Prime Minister is to be the figurehead of the party and bring all these cabinet members together around the table. I think Boris could do that.
Well, Judy, where do you think the party now needs to up its game? There have been so many problems, so many questions about the leadership, about the infighting, as we've just discussed, but also its failure to grasp social media to attract a younger membership and younger activists.
I know it is. It's devastating to think that, you know, I mean, I think the social media thing is such an issue that we really should be getting a grip on. I totally disagree about Boris. I don't think he's got a cat's chance in hell of becoming our Prime Minister. My God, I hope not.
I didn't ask what his chances were. I said, could he? So.
No, he puts his foot in it. I mean, it was after we spoke last time that he made that real gaffe about the dead bodies in Libya, wasn't it? I mean, you know, what potential leader of the party makes a gaffe like that? I mean, he has lost a huge amount of charisma. I don't think Theresa May is in it for the long term. I think she's got to see us through Brexit. But, which I suppose you could say is another couple of years, will she make it to the next election? Who knows? And it's really difficult to think who we've got coming up, you know, who could replace her.
And how do you both see the Brexit arguments panning out now? Because there are tough negotiations coming up. Phase 1 has been dealt with. Phase 2 really gets underway in the new year with trade talks starting in March. But Wazz, do you really think it's possible to get some sort of trade deal before the departure date?
Well, as I've always said, it's going to be difficult. We're leaving the European Union, and the EU don't want it to look like an ideal option for any other members. So it's always, you know, for us to get a good deal is going to be a challenge. That said, as a net importer from the EU, we do import a lot of stuff. So any form of trade deal, we may have a card up our sleeve on that front. But if we look back at how long things have taken, not just because of the way our side has been negotiating, but because of the EU as well, negotiations don't appear to be happening with any great speed. I think I read somewhere that there's going to be we're going to have a deal in place to end transitional period status, etc., by 2021. Now that's probably realistic. So yes, we have action to leave the EU. We will theoretically have left in 2019, but the ongoing deals will still be occurring, will be in its transitional state, and that can go on in perpetuity, as long as all members of the EU agree that we stay in it. So the key thing is not time. The key thing is to make sure that we get a good deal.
And Judy, what about you? Because you, I think, you wouldn't argue with the idea that you were more passionately anti-Brexit than Wazz. He voted Remain, but he's kind of accepted that Brexit's happening. You'd like it to stop, wouldn't you? Do you still think that, or do you now accept that it's happening? And what sort of form do you think it will happen in?
Well, sadly, I would desperately like it to stop, and I keep thinking, yes, it's going to. Yes, but it's not going to happen. I mean, Joe, my husband, says it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. I'm absolutely convinced, and I'm always amazed that when I have discussions with him, how often he's right. And I'm thinking, well, perhaps it won't, and I know my children would be delighted if it didn't. But in my heart of hearts, I feel it is going to happen. We're a long way down that path. Well, no, we're not a long way down it. We've still got several years to go. And I think what people voted for was, I think they thought, right, we want to leave Europe. We're in it today. We'll vote against it. We'll vote to leave, and we'll be out tomorrow. I don't think people had any concept of what was involved in leaving the European Union.
I wonder, the two of you, I mean, it's been quite a year, hasn't it? And I'd like you both to give me some high points and low points this year. Now, Wazz, I mean, obviously the election result, bit of a low point for you, but and that meant that Theresa May then had to fork out £1 billion out of public funds to do a deal with the DUP. Are you happy about that?
Ideally, I mean, if you take the whole year, the low point of the year from my perspective was winning more votes than any other Conservative party ever has in an election, but not being able to convert that into a parliamentary majority. So unfortunately, we in order to move forward with what we need to move forward within this Parliament, we've had to do a deal. Ideally, we wouldn't have. Ideally, the huge amount of votes we won would have actually translated through the algorithms of general elections into a huge majority for the party, and we wouldn't be in the situation we are now, where we're in bed, so to speak, with the DUP.
Well, I have, as an ex-military person myself, I obviously take an interest in defence. I take a great interest in defence, and the possibility that we were going to reduce the army to below 70,000, I think, is not good at all. I wasn't sorry to lose Michael Fallon. Well, Gavin Williamson will be like, who knows? But I do think that to retain our military power is important. It's important to keep those the military as part of society. We don't want our military to be so rare and nobody sees them, nobody knows what they do. And they are part of society, and I would like to ensure that we keep our 2% spending on defence. I think it's important to retain our nuclear deterrent, and I certainly do not wish to see military, our British Army, dropping below 70,000. It's too low at the moment, if you ask me.
Shall we turn it on to high points then, Wazz? A high point for you?
Well, we won an election this year, despite what everybody says.
You just said your low point was the election. You can't have it both ways.
But no, I said the low point was winning more votes than any other Conservative party has, but not being able to turn that into an outright majority. But equally, we won an election this year. So you can look at it both ways.
Lost your majority.
That's another way of looking at it, yes, which is quite factual, true.
And a high point for you this year?
I'm struggling.
Can you find one?
I'm really struggling. I suppose that, just as a general thing, I think we're in a better position than I thought we would be right now. I think that actually, Theresa May is getting through it, and I suppose, you've got to take that as a high point. The fact that we're, things are more positive now. I don't quite know where we're still about equal in the polls, but I feel that we're doing better now than I thought we would be doing a month ago. So that's a high point. It's getting better.
Do you think that Theresa May will still be leader this time next year?
Yes, no, I do think she will be the Prime Minister next year. I don't think anybody's going to stick their head above the parapet until after this Brexit negotiations have taken place.
Judy?
I hope so. She's had a very difficult time. She has survived it, and I've got to admire her for that. And if she survived that, I think she will be here, still in as Prime Minister this time next year.